Hello, how are you all? Today we will be talking about local winds. Now, the winds which are caused by the local differences in temperature and pressure, which blows over a limited area and is formed because of the differences in the pressure of any region. So, they blow from a region of high pressure to a region of low pressure. So, they vary from one place to another, and they are very short lived and does not last for very long. So these winds affect the local weather conditions of a place. Some of these local winds are land and sea breezes, mountain and valley breezes, and hot and cold winds. Now let's talk about the sea breeze first. They are the result of differential heating of land and the sea that happens especially during the daytime when the land becomes warmer than the sea. As land and sea gets heated up due to convection, and the solid surface gets heated up more quickly as compared to liquid. So the air above the land gets heated up and becomes warm, and it rises because it becomes lighter. But the air above the sea is cooler and more dense, so it expands and moves towards the land. So sea breeze basically is the air which is blowing from the sea to the land. And since they are blowing from the sea, they bring along with them a lot of moisture. So when these winds rises to a height of 500 to 1500 meters, and they condense and form cumulus clouds and bring rainfall. Now the sea breeze is more cooler as compared to the land breeze. So the speed of the wind which is coming from the sea can be 4 to 5 meters per second or even stronger. But the land breeze occurs at night or early in the morning when the air above the land is cooler, which happens because at night the land basically transmits all the heat energy back into the space. So that is why the land is cooler as compared to the ocean or the sea. The air pressure over the sea is lower in comparison to the air pressure over the land, which is high. So the air above the sea will rise because it is warmer, and the air above the land is denser and cooler, which blows in to take the place of the risen air. So, this is why the land breeze blows during the night over the sea. The speed of the land breezes is almost 2 to 5 meters per second. Anabatic winds and katabatic winds are another type of local winds. Now, anabatic winds is a wind caused by thermal or heat processes. Anabatic is also called as upslope winds, which occurs over slopes which are heated by the sun. So air in contact with the slopes warms up and expands upwards and cools and sinks to the neighboring valleys. Whereas the katabatic winds are the winds that flow downhill or rush down the elevated slopes as they are very cold. So when the cold air creates downslope winds that is called as katabatic. Antarctica experiences strong katabatic winds as cold air rushes over the land mass. Now, the highest speed recorded in Antarctica is at Dumont d'Urville Station in July 1972. The speed was 327 kilometers per hour. Now let's talk about the hot and the cold local winds which blows over the continental margins affecting the climatic conditions of the adjoining areas. Fawn, which is a warm and dry as well as gusty wind that occurs over the lower slopes of the leeward side or the side not exposed to the sea of a mountain barrier. The onset of fawn is generally very sudden, and the result of fawn is forcing stable air over a mountain barrier, which can be very sudden. Fawn can be very calm or it can be very gale or windy. Winds happen quite often in the Alps where the fawns blow, and also in the Rockies. They also blow across the eastern parts of New Zealand as well as South Island and also some parts of Sri Lanka, but mainly they blow across the Rockies of North America and the Alps of Europe. The dangerous part of the phone is that when it blows suddenly, then the snow covered slopes they melt and it causes avalanches and a lot of disasters. Fawn conditions lead to the fall in relative humidity up to 30%, causing vegetation and wooden buildings to dry out. And this is a long standing problem in Switzerland, where so many fire conditions have occurred due to phone. Fire watching is obligatory when phone conditions happen. Sirocco, which is a southerly wind which blows over the Mediterranean region that comes from the northern African desert. So they are basically hot and dusty winds. And these winds basically blow over the Mediterranean regions of Italy, Malta, as well as Sicily. As these are the winds which are coming from the Saharan desert, they're basically very dry winds and they also pick up moisture from all those regions from which they blow. So they are extremely hot as well as dusty winds and also cause dust or sand storms. And they are cyclonic in origin, which are coming from the arid regions. So they basically pick up moisture if they are passing over the seas and they become slightly moistened, which brings only slight rainfall to the surrounding areas. Khamsin is a hot and dry and oppressive wind that is southerly or southeasterly that blows over Egypt in the spring season. So they are highly dry and dusty winds, and suddenly they come and cover up all the buildings and the cars and create a very thick layered deposit. And they blow mostly over the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea and moves eastward. Harmattan is a dry and cool wind that blows from the east or northeast of the coast of North Africa between the Cape Verde and the Gulf of Guinea during the dry season from November till March. It brings heavy dust and sandstorms from the Sahara Desert and forms a very thick haze which spreads hundreds of kilometers and also causes a lot of problems regarding the navigation on the rivers as well as interferes with the local aircraft operations. Now let's talk about the cold local winds. The Bora, which is a strong cold and gusty northeasterly wind which descends to the Adriatic Sea from the Dinaric Alps and the mountains behind the Dalmatian coast, which is also called as Croatia, and it is a winter phenomena. So the Bora is formed when a snow-moving depression is centered over the plains of Hungary and Western Balkan. Now the winds are blowing from the east towards the Dinaric Alps, form a barrier which trap the cold air to go further east. These winds are trapped in this particular belt and they cannot move any further, so they increase in their depth as the air continuously flows and passes through the valleys to reach the Adriatic Sea. So Bora begins suddenly and without warning. It can reach a speed of 100 kilometers per hour and can turn vehicles and blow people off their feet. Mistral is a strong and often violent wind that blows from the northwest down the Rhone valley of southern France and across the Rhone delta to the Gulf de Lion and sometimes beyond. It is strongest and frequent in the winter months and blows any time, but when centered over the northwest Italy and the Ligurian Sea of high pressure extends up to the Bay of Biscay. Its speed is 100 kilometers per hour. These winds can cause a lot of damage to the crops as well as cause a lot of problems while driving in the difficult Rhone Valley. The north, in Chile and also the North American coast, there is a northerly gale with rain. Usually occurs in the winter fall in air pressure and a cloudy overcast. It usually occurs over the sky over the Gulf of Mexico and the western parts of the Caribbean Sea. Northers are very strong, cool, and northerly winds which mainly blow in the winters, and they are humid with a lot of precipitation. Nor'westers or Kal-Baisakhi in West Bengal or Bordoi Silu in Assam. They are severe storms and a localized rainfall and thunderstorms which occurs in Bangladesh, states of Bihar, Jharkhand, Odisha and Tripura as well as West Bengal in India.